Where do you go in Scripture when you're looking for an example of God's power? There are so many different places to go. You could go to creation. You could go to the plagues. You could go to the flood. You could go to the resurrection from the dead. You could go to Peter walking on water. Endless examples of God's power. Today, I'd like to go to a place in Scripture that demonstrates the vastness of God's power in a very unique way. Today we find the prophet Ezekiel taken to a valley of dry bones, and we see God do something that is breathtaking and awe-inspiring and maybe a little bit creepy. I'd like to share with you from Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 1. We read, "The hand of the Lord was on me, and he brought me out by the Spirit of the Lord and set me in the middle of a valley. It was full of bones. He led me back and forth among them, and I saw a great many bones on the floor of the valley, bones that were very dry. He asked me, 'Son of man, can these bones live?'" Imagine that God is asking you that question. How would you respond if God said, "Can these live?" This is what Ezekiel says. "I said, 'Sovereign Lord, you alone know.'" Pretty wise answer by Ezekiel there. Then he said to me, "Prophesy to these bones and say to them, 'Dry bones, hear the word of the Lord.' This is what the sovereign Lord says to those bones. I will make breath enter you, and you will come to life. I will attach tendons to you, and make flesh come upon you, and cover you with skin. I will put breath in you, and you will come to life. Then you will know that I am the Lord." So I prophesied as I was commanded. And as I was prophesying, there was a noise, a rattling sound, and the bones came together, bone to bone. I looked, and tendons and flesh appeared on them, and skin covered them, but there was no breath in them. I don't know about you, but that account gives me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies. Can you imagine Ezekiel watching as God puts tendons and flesh and skin on these dry bones? God creates something out of nothing and places them together for Ezekiel to see. God's not done. Then he said to me, "Prophesy to the breath. Prophesy, son of man, and say to it, 'This is what the sovereign Lord says. Come, breath, from the four winds, and breathe into these slain that they may live.' So I prophesied as he commanded me, and breath entered them. They came to life and stood up on their feet, a vast army. Then he said to me, 'Son of man, these bones are the people of Israel. They say, our bones are dried up, and our hope is gone, we are cut off. Therefore prophesy and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. My people, I am going to open your graves and bring you up from them. I will bring you back to the land of Israel. Then you, my people, will know that I am the Lord when I open your graves and bring you up from them. I will put my spirit in you, and you will live, and I will settle you in your own land. Then you will know that I, the Lord, have spoken, and I have done it, declares the Lord." Notice who is doing all the acting. It's all God. From the creating of this vast army and breathing life in them, to bringing the children of Israel back, to opening their graves, to putting the Spirit of God in them, to bringing them life, to settling them in their own land. This is all God acting for them. What a comfort it is to know that our God is a God of action. As we think of our lives right now, it's such a strange feeling living in our world. I think that one of the things that is uniting us all right now is grief. We may not call it grief, but I think it's safe to say that. We're grieving so many different things, and we're coming at this disease, COVID-19, in so many different ways. I think some of us are grieving the loss of normalcy. Others of us are grieving the loss of economic status, or maybe grieving having people around us. This is why it's so crucial for us to see God's power. Because what does grief leave us with? It leaves us feeling hopeless. God gives us hope. He gives us hope in his almighty hand. It's that hope in his vast power that allows us to trust that God will act and that God is acting. God continues to show us his vast power in Scripture so that we never forget that he is powerful to save, that we have nothing to worry about, and that we always have hope. If you could fold your hands and pray with me. Dear Lord, fill our hearts with the knowledge of your power. Help us to see that there is no situation too great for you. Lord, help us to never lose sight of your power and your majesty. Help us to see your guiding hand